what effect they wanted to have on the world. And you were saying, Connor, that you like watching movies and because of changes that it can make for the world, and that's hopefully what you're doing when you're playing a role. So does it matter, like the subject matter, or do you, like when you look at a project, does it have to touch you a certain way? Have you said no to things because you were like, well, that's not something that I want to touch necessarily? And when you do say no, is it for that reason, or is it for solely acting technical stuff?
Sure. I'll take a stab at it, and I'll maybe alley-oop it up to Jagger here. I think I think, with a goal like this, it's very tricky to showcase extreme violence in a film, particularly when this is real-life violence. And so there's that question, and I think the success of films like this, and I do think it's successful at doing this, the success of a film like this rides on the question of, if there is this extreme violence and hatred to these terrible things in the world, is there a way to show that in a film independent of those elements? Is there a way to engage in a healthy, productive, are there benefits to showcasing that kind of violence? And I think there are, and I think it's an incredibly complex tightrope that you both walk admirably.
Thank you.
So
yeah, that was definitely a consideration how to handle the violence, particularly because it is based on real events. Part of it was just, it sounds very simple, but just putting it at the beginning so that it's over with, and then we're just dealing with the characters as living people, which is really how I want you to present them. So you also, on kind of like technically how it was filmed, like you actually don't see anyone shot. Actually, it's on the camera. It's always off camera. So how these things are portrayed is, it's definitely heavy on our minds with the whole process.
Yeah, we had infinite discussions on that level of sensitivity is not the right word, but the way that you approach and have to treat that subject of violence in the context of what's on the page in the screenplay, and then ultimately what gets filmed and then what gets edited, and how we want the film to engage you all on an emotional level and on a level that brings you closer to the story and the characters, and use these tools of cinema that we have, sound and light and action, to bring you as close as possible to this event, but you're in the safety of, obviously this movie theater. And that's the power of cinema, is you're now experiencing something that none of us should ever experience, but you're that close to it as a result of the tools and the genius of the filmmaking unit. As a producer, for me, the joy and the power is watching the whole collaboration come together and to give their offering to what a film really is, and then to watch it all come together. Because, I'm sure but this is the outcome of a million decisions, both personal and collective, that actually create this amazing film, which is Wallflower. And the unit makes the film, so I just bow to everybody involved in the production, because it's really magnificent.
If I may briefly ask, to kind of tie it in a little more explicitly to your question, that I was excited about this film because I do think it, as John and Jagger both saying, presented an opportunity to try to have a conversation, try to have a dialogue about violence, about male rage, these things which even now have taken on a different face in sort of a post-2016, post-Trump world in which this kind of violence continues to escalate. And my hope is that the film is personally resonant to audience members individually or as a whole. To each their own, obviously, but it did seem like there was a great opportunity there to try and interrogate some of these things that live in our world.